I am Racer, and I have always thought I was born to experience unlucky things. I did not know my biological parents, which deeply affected my childhood. I can genuinely say that I was born into a world of uncertainty and tragedy, and it pains me to realise that at an early age I was able to experience abandonment trauma. This ill fate has clung to me all my life, and it became a scar in me, waiting to be triggered so that I could relive and feel the pain again. And whenever this feeling resurfaced, an intense sadness and fear would plunge into my poor heart. My earliest memories were shrouded in the gloom of losing my parents at a tender age. My caretakers would fondly retell the tale of my parents' early demise. They would whisper to me the story of how they were taken away from me in a terrible accident, leaving me all alone in this vast world. And with that grave accident, I became an orphan, a little girl left to fend for herself amidst the chaos. I had just turned 1 year old that day, and that is what made it more emotional and painful for me, because my parents died on my birthday, and it hindered me from being happy during the most special day of my life. Due to my tragic loss after the accident, I was placed in an orphanage where the days seemed long and the nights felt even longer. There, I learned to be strong and resilient and make the most out of the little I had. Yet no matter how hard I tried, the emptiness in my heart never truly faded. Every day, I would see rich people parade in our orphanage looking for suitable children to adopt. I would always pray that one of them would take a liking to me. With that, I spent my days yearning for a family, for a place to call home, and for someone to hold me close and tell me everything would be all right. It was during one of my lowest moments that fate smiled upon me, for a kind couple visited the orphanage and took an interest in me, offering me a chance at a new life. They were my saviours, my adoptive parents. They saw beyond the troubled past I carried and welcomed me into their hearts and home. With their love and support, I finally found the family I had always longed for. They gave me the stability and warmth I had been missing for so long. I was able to experience the love of a parent who showered me with endless care. They knew that my life in the orphanage was not okay as well. I was always the centre of bullying and mistreatment, but they helped me recover from it through their love. Under their care, I blossomed into a strong, compassionate and humble young woman. They taught me the value of hard work, integrity, and the importance of treating others with kindness. Their love gave me the courage to pursue my dreams and make something meaningful out of my life. As the years passed, I completed my education and ventured into the world, determined to make my mark. As soon as I finished my college degree, I told my adoptive parents I would live independently. They have completed their promise to me, and that is to support me and my studies. And now that I have finally finished my studies, I want to stand on my own, bringing with me their guidance. And besides, I don't want to live in this world with their influence and privilege driving me. I want to make my mark on the planet. Nonetheless, they supported my decision and told me that they would never leave me along the way. My adoptive parents stood by me every step of the way, cheering me on and celebrating my successes as if I were their biological child. But life and more surprises were in store for me. I thought that the darkness of my past had finally been kicked out and light took over. But little did I know that my history, marked by loss and longing, would intersect with my future in ways I could never have imagined. It was when I met Jackson, my husband, the man I fell deeply in love with, the man that changed my entire peaceful life. He was a catalyst for how the shadows of my past did resurface, forcing me to confront the challenges that lay ahead. I met Jackson in the law firm that I worked at. He was a lawyer, while I was a political scientist. I never told anyone about my adoptive parents' background because I didn't want to be associated with their wealth and other privileges. Jackson and I fell deeper in love. Our bond seemed unbreakable. Both of us are thriving in our careers. On top of that, it cannot be denied that Jackson came from a wealthy family as well. His family comes from a long line of remarkable and renowned lawyers and forensic scientists in the country. To some who didn't know my background, they could honestly say that our worlds are entirely different. But we didn't let the opinions of others win over us. We dreamt of a future together, built on love, trust, and understanding. However, as we started discussing marriage, I couldn't help but worry about the looming presence of his overbearing mother, Betty. I had heard tales of her disapproval of her son's past relationships, and I feared I would become another target of her disdain. Nevertheless, I hoped our love would be strong enough to weather any storm, and I decided to face the challenge head-on. I met Betty with an open heart, trying to win her over with my genuine kindness and humility. But it quickly became apparent that she had already decided about me, and nothing I did could change that. During family gatherings, where Jackson would invite me over, she never failed to show her dislike towards me. She hates me so much. Sometimes I could hear her talk badly about me, especially about how I dress and present myself. She would also blurt out insulting remarks saying I am poor and only dating Jackson because of his status and money. Also, I have seen multiple times that his mother would say those insults towards me with him by her side, and he would stand there beside her doing nothing. He wouldn't even defend me as if he feared his mother. It hurts me to see him doing nothing. I even asked him why he didn't even take my defence, but he would only answer with, "She's my mother. What would you have me do? Attack her? Besides, none of it is true. We both know that. So what's the big deal?" Every time he would say these words right before me, it pains me like hell. I wanted to reason with him, but I reckon it'll only come to nothing. And with that, Betty continued to show her hatred towards me with words. "You are not suitable for my son and his reputation. You are nothing but a loser who sticks with him for money. You have no dignity." I would keep silent whenever she threw those remarks at me. "Bold of you to assume I will ever accept you as my daughter-in-law. You are a speck of dirt to our family name and status, a filthy social climber." Aside from that, she would always remind me that you will never have a place in our life. You are poor and low. I wanted to defend myself, but I didn't want to cause any more rift in our tainted relationship, Betty and Jackson. Despite her ill treatment, Jackson stood by my side, promising me that he loved me and that we would face whatever came our way together. I let his mama's boy personality slide. But as we got married and started our life as a couple, I noticed the subtle but unmistakable shift in his behaviour. It was as though his mother's words held a power over him that I could never compete with. I have always thought that Jackson is a mama's boy, but I kept denying that. But now, this personality of his has become evident. It is as if his mother is controlling him. And whatever his mother would say is the only thing he believes, completely ignoring me, his wife. One day, it was my birthday, and we have always planned a mountain trip to celebrate it. We were already preparing for the necessary things to bring. Everything was booked, and we were about to start travelling to the destination, when my mother-in-law began to call my husband with an angry and authoritative tone, which led to disrupting and delaying our plans. "Where are you right now, son?" The urgency in her voice was evident. I saw how terrified Jackson was. I'm at home, Mum." "Good. Are you doing something? Because I need your help." Jackson glared at me uneasily. Oh no, I think he is going to lie again. His mother knows we have plans for today, and she's only doing this to ruin my birthday. No. My eyes widened with his response. Why is he lying? "That's good. Can you come to my office, son? I need help with my computer." Jackson was already sweating, and he looked at me with a pleading face. But Mum, it's Riza's birthday." Betty slammed the table so hard that I could hear it here. I do not care if it's her birthday. Leave her there if you have to. I am your mother, so you will do as I command. Come here at once." I held Jackson's arm and shook my head, telling him not to go because it was a special day for me. "Mum, we already have plans." "Then cancel it. Will you disobey me for that girl, Jackson? I am your mother, so you listen to me, not to that filthy, worthless wife you have." Jackson paused for a moment, and then he responded, and his reply shook me. "Yes, Mum, I will be there in 10 minutes. My heart sank as I saw him get up and get his car keys preparing to leave. I could hear Betty's triumphant chuckle from the other line. Why is she like that? "That's my son. See you." And my husband left, with no words. I was so devastated because once again I felt neglected and abandoned. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Betty's influence over our lives grew stronger. She managed to find fault in everything I did, criticizing my choices, my career, and even my appearance. The warmth and support I once received from Jackson now seemed distant, overshadowed by the constant need to appease his mother because his evil mother controlled him. Despite the challenges, I continued to pour my heart and soul into our relationship, hoping my love and devotion would eventually win him back. I never asked him to choose between us, but in my heart I yearned for a day when he would stand up to his mother and defend our love. The breaking point came when Jackson had to leave for that business trip to the States. It was during his absence that Betty's true colours were revealed in their darkest form. She swooped into our house like a vengeful queen, stripping away all I held dear, the staff, the maids, and my dignity. She asked me to leave the house at once. After all, it is hers because her son paid for it. I wanted to tell her that I have my fair share of efforts in building our house and even our life. But it would make no sense because talking to her feels like talking to a brick wall. She grabbed my hair and forced me to leave the house by dragging me hard. I was begging her to stop, but she pushed me to the ground and even spit on me. "You are nothing but a worthless human being, a gold digger and a freeloader. Please, stop this already. I have done nothing wrong to you." She slapped me so hard and grabbed my chin. "You think you are brave. You think you are strong enough to talk against me. You are nothing but a pain in the ass raiser. So get out of our life and die if you want to." She kicked me, and it hurt so bad. She slammed the door and left me outside. It was then I realised that I didn't have my phone with me. I couldn't contact my husband. I was alone, isolated, and at the mercy of her cruel whims. The pain of her words cut deep, and I struggled to find the strength to endure. But I couldn't bear to let her win, to let her destroy the love that Jackson and I had fought so hard to build. That's when I reached out to my adoptive parents, hoping against hope that they could help me level the playing field. I swallowed my pride and went home. I told them everything, and they were so angry. It turns out that my father was more influential than Jackson's family. So with his assistance, I managed to regain control of the very home that Betty had taken from me. My father owns a share of the real estate company of our house. He revealed her mistreatment to the owner and how she illegally took over the home with harassment. And with that, the owner took action immediately. The next day, Betty woke up with cops surrounding the entire house. She went hysterical, nagging the cops for their revelation. But when I faced her, her jaw dropped because my father was behind me. She must have recognized him. Then I revealed to her my actual status. The revelation of my newfound power and her subsequent arrest sent shockwaves through the family, exposing her toxic behavior and her hold on her son. As I watched her being led away in handcuffs, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Relief, vindication, but also a tinge of sadness for the woman who had lost her way. But this was not about vengeance. It was about reclaiming my self-worth and standing up against the abuse I had endured. Ultimately, the tables had turned, and Betty and Jackson were left to face the consequences of their actions. I did not desire their humiliation. I only wanted the chance to build a life free from toxicity and judgment. As I walked away from the chaos, I knew that the journey ahead would be challenging. But I also knew that I was not alone. My adoptive parents' love and support had shaped me into the firm, resilient woman I had become, and I was ready to face whatever the future held, with or without Jackson and his mother by my side. Ultimately, I learned that true strength comes from within, and I was determined to create a life that was indeed my own. In the days that followed the revelation, I found solace in the support of my adoptive family and close friends who had stood by my side throughout the tumultuous ordeal. They reminded me of my worth and helped me rebuild my shattered confidence. With their love and encouragement, I began to see a glimmer of hope for a brighter future. I decided to focus on myself, my career, and my personal growth. The experience with Betty had been painful, but it had also taught me invaluable lessons about resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself. I channeled my energy into my work, and with dedication and determination, I achieved professional milestones that I had once only dreamed of. As time passed, I also understood that the dynamics between Jackson and his mother were deeply ingrained. His attachment to her was not solely about his love for her. It was a complex web of guilt, fear, and conditioning. While it was difficult to accept, I knew I couldn't change him. He had to choose to break free from the toxic hold his mother had on him. In moments of quiet reflection, I questioned whether I should give him another chance, whether our love was strong enough to overcome the hurdles ahead. But I also reminded myself that love should never come at the cost of one's self-respect and happiness. I deserved a partner who would stand beside me as an equal, not one who would prioritize the demands of his mother over our relationship. Through therapy and self-discovery, I found the courage to let go of the hope that things would magically change. It was time for me to move forward, embrace the possibilities that lay ahead, and find happiness on my own terms. Months turned into a year, and life took me on a journey I could never have foreseen. I embraced new experiences, travelled to new places, and met people who brought joy and positivity. I had come so far from the lonely orphan I once was, and I was grateful for the love and support that had brought me to where I stood. Amid my newfound contentment, fate had another surprise in store for me. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of pink and orange across the sky, I received a letter. It was from Jackson, a heartfelt confession of regret and a plea for forgiveness. He had realized the gravity of his actions and the manipulation he had been subjected to all his life. He had taken the first steps to free himself from his mother's control, seeking therapy and counselling to break the toxic patterns that had haunted their family for so long. Reading his words, I felt a mix of emotions flood over me. It was not an easy decision, but I knew I still cared for him deeply, and part of me wanted to believe in the possibility of a second chance. We met, cautiously opening our hearts to one another. Jackson expressed his remorse, acknowledging the pain he had caused me and vowing to be a better partner. He knew he had a long way to go in breaking free from his past, but he was willing to take the journey if it meant a chance to rebuild our relationship. As we talked, I saw a glimmer of the man I had fallen in love with, who was not just a reflection of his mother's wishes, but a person with his dreams and desires. I decided to give us a chance to start anew, knowing that the path ahead would be filled with challenges and the potential for growth and healing. Betty's arrest had been a turning point for all of us. It was the catalyst that finally forced Jackson to confront the toxic influence that had shaped his life. I hope that in time he would continue to distance himself from his mother's negativity and embrace a healthy relationship with her, one built on boundaries and mutual respect. The journey ahead would not be easy, but with love, understanding, and the strength that came from knowing my self-worth, I was ready to face it all. Whatever the future, I was determined to build a life that was indeed my own, free from the shadows of the past and the weight of others' expectations. And so, hand in hand, Jackson and I began to write a new chapter in our story. It was a chapter that would be defined not by revenge or humiliation, but by growth, forgiveness, and the resilience of love. As we faced the challenges together, I knew that I had found my strength and that whatever came our way, I was ready to face it with an open heart and hope for a better tomorrow. If you were in the same situation as Razor, would you do the same thing? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below.